welcome to In Conversation with Hemali. Our guest today is Alpana Ahuja, who moved to Singapore in the year 2000. She has stuck to the fine arts and is an illustrator of 18 children's books, a nature and wildlife art teacher and an activist, as well as a member of Singapore Art Society and Group 90. She is also a board member and volunteer wildlife rescue warden with ACRES, and ACRES is Animal Concerns Research and Education Society of Singapore, and the Nature Society Singapore, with whom she conducts art in the park. She also collaborates with bodies like the National Park to initiate art and zero waste events. Alpana also supports the Wildlife SOS India, an NGO that works towards rescuing abused bears and elephants. Formerly trained in the textile design at the South Delhi Polytechnic for Women in India, she also holds a certificate in Western art for the Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts, Singapore. She has illustrated and authored several books on wildlife. Welcome, Alpana, and thank you so much for gracing this channel.
Thank you, Hemali. I'm really honored. Thank you so much. You researched so much about me. I feel very humbled. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alpana. I'm going to straight move on to the questions and I'm going to begin with a very cliche question to begin, but how and when did you develop the love for animals?
Actually, it was in childhood, Hemali. I grew up in big railway bungalows where we had big gardens, and I would spend a lot of time outdoors. I would, observe little creatures in my garden, very often rescuing fledglings who fell off and trying my best. The very young ones would always die, and I really didn't know how to nurture them back. The ones which were slightly older would fly away, and that would give me great happiness. I would read a lot of books about animals. Like I grew up, this book by Gerald Durrell, My Family and Other Animals. That was like my Bible.
Right.
And then James Herriot and all the stories of the vets and everything. So all these, being surrounded by nature, reading all these books drew me more and more closer to nature. I was very quiet. I was an introvert actually in school.
Okay.
But my garden kept me going. And slowly over the years, my parents also agreed for me to have pets. So I had a couple of dogs and, a cat in my childhood and stuff like that. Not too many pets. But I think just being in nature was what fueled this whole love.
Fantastic. Yeah. So how did ACRES come into your life? And also tell us a bit more about the workshops you conduct to educate the young minds on taking care of nature and wildlife.
So when we moved to Singapore, I first joined NAFA for a 2-year part-time course. And then I started illustrating the children's books, which I enjoyed immensely. But I felt something was missing in my life. So I was looking out to help animals in some way, because that was my childhood passion, which had got side-laid by, marriage and bringing up the children. So it was just the focus had been the kids all these years. So I wanted to reconnect with animals in some way. And then somebody introduced me to ACRES. We went for a road show, and I was very disturbed that night because I saw videos of bears on large bear bile farms in China, where they extract the bile from the bear, and about 7,000 bears are kept in one farm. And it was shocking to me. I had no idea about the TCM and this whole trade on the bear bile. And it made me very restless, and I respected the work that ACRES was doing. It was a very small team at that point. Okay. So I actually worked with Amy. Louis Ang is the founder of ACRES, and his wife Amy, and there were just another 1 or 2 more people. And I worked closely with Amy. I offered her my skills. I said, I can do whatever art-related stuff that you want. So I created a lot of brochures, and that's how my work with ACRES started. It started from just art, and led on to many other things. I would say that in 2013, I met the co-founders of Wildlife SOS India. Okay. And I got introduced to all their animals, the bears, the elephants. I also got introduced to snakes, because they would do a lot of snake rescues. And that was my first exposure to snakes. And actually handling the snakes there a couple of times is what actually got me interested in taking the wildlife rescue training at ACRES. I'd been with ACRES from 2005. But I only took the training for rescuing wildlife in 2014. It took me that long to accept that, I am capable of rescuing reptiles, because I was honestly very scared of reptiles. So
Really?
when I took that training and I started going on rescue, I was just, what should I tell you? I felt as if I was on Nat Geo Live. It was
Really?
very addictive to me. I could not stay away from rescue. So I would try to volunteer about 2, 3 times a month at least. Not that much, because I had art classes and other stuff going on. But yeah, I tried my best, and I slowly became, got into acres deeper and deeper, yeah, I mean, till I reached a
Right.
point where they invited me to be a board member.
All
Um,
right. And did,
what was your second question about workshops?
yes.
Did you say? Okay, so I'll tell you something. Around 2016,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, I was nominated to as Sony IWA Woman of the Year. I was one of the 5
Fantastic.
finalists. So
Congratulations. Yeah.
thank you. So it was a very touching moment for me, because I never thought that people took my work so seriously, and the fact that when I spoke to the judges, and they were very, very intrigued by the work I do, and they
Yes.
showed a lot of interest, and they wanted me to speak more about my work. So I knew that animal work. I mean, there was a lady who won the title who actually does beautiful work with humans, and she was truly deserving, so she won the title. But what was interesting was a lot of NRI community from the Indian community. They sort of connected with me, and they became great volunteers and donors for acres.
Oh,
So I think, in a way, I kind of made a bridge between acres and the community.
right.
I got people interested in nature and animal causes.
Right.
So
Right.
and then
Yes.
slowly one thing led to another.
Mm-hmm.
You asked about the clubs, right?
Yeah.
So I have a close association with the Indian International School, Global Indian International School,
Okay.
at East Coast, and I was having a chat with the principal. She was Miss Melissa, was the
Yes.
principal there, Miss Maria Melissa, yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she was the principal at East Coast at that point, and we were just having a conversation, and I realized that she's an animal lover herself.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got talking, and I said, schools don't bring children close to nature, and parents have no clue about nature. So children are just growing up with their gadgets, and and if nobody's going to love nature, nobody's going to fight for nature.
Yeah.
That was my fear. I'm watching nature getting destroyed all around me, but we need people who will fight for nature. So
Yeah.
she said, what do you want schools to do? So it just came out of me that, schools should have a nature club or an animal lovers club.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing, they roped me in to start a club, and I call it the Animal Lovers Club. And
Fantastic. Wow.
yeah, so this club started in 2017.
Okay.
It's a CCA initiative.
Mm-hmm.
I teach children everything about animals. I start from the beginning, pets, our pets, and their care. It's not only just their physical care, it's also their mental well-being. That
Right.
dogs are highly intelligent creatures, and they need enrichment. You cannot just buy a dog, or even if you adopt a
Yeah.
dog, which is the message I wanted them to understand. You cannot just leave it in the house and just play with it when you feel like it, take it out when you feel like it. No,
Yeah.
you have to make that animal a part of your family, like a part of your tribe, and give him a role to play. He
Right.
has to have daily activity role in your life. If you cannot do that, then please don't bring an animal and bore him to death in your house. So this
Wow.
was my main start with the children, that you must understand that all these creatures are extremely intelligent, and you have to give them the enrichment that they require, whatever the
Right.
pet you have. What
Yeah.
is it that they need? You should be able to fulfill that. So it starts with a lot of things like that. And then before they go for the holidays, I talk to them about performing animals. And the horrible trade of how they capture these baby animals, bring them and train them to perform for humans. There's immense
Right.
cruelty. So the children understand that behind the scenes what happens.
Yeah.
And then when they're traveling with their families, they are now strong enough to say no to such shows, because I
Right.
tell them that it's the money, it's the whole business of selling, earning money from these shows. So
Right.
if you all of you stop seeing these shows and they don't make money, they're going to stop getting the animal from the forest. So the children understand that. And then we move on to more serious issues. We invite the Nature Society to come and give a talk. We invite Jane Goodall Institute to come and give a talk. Acres comes and gives a talk. So the children learn different aspects of nature, and they also learn what they can do. You know, it's not necessary to have to bring an animal home to do something for animals. You don't have to bring an animal home. You can do so much for animals just by changing your behavior and your attitude.
Beautiful.
So the end of that whole year is about 35 to 38 sessions. And I think that children become thinking human beings at the end of it. They think about the impact of their actions. And that's the whole idea that, you know, I've nurtured a little seed and nurtured it to a sapling, and then it's going to take root maybe, and this child will go on to do something positive for Mother Nature. That's the idea.
Beautiful. The very different way of educating, and so necessary, you know, in the present times. So I just am wondering, you know, that you are doing so much of amazing work, but how do you coordinate, you know, all these varied interests like textile designing, love for animals, fine arts, wildlife conservation? How do you put it all together?
Yeah, sometimes I find it hard to pick which passion to focus on. But I think in my life, like everybody's lives are different and the weaves of their lives are different. Each one's tapestry is built and woven to their own tunes. So I think in mine, my art and my love for animals has come together in a beautiful way, I feel, because I can create merchandise because of my textile designing training.
Oh, yes.
I can create, beautiful merchandise with animal themes. And this merchandise raises funds for the animals and the NGO that I help. My paintings raise a lot of money for animals. And so we have auctions where I use animal paintings to raise funds for Acres and Wildlife SOS India. So I think all this training comes in handy for the goal that I have, which is to help the NGOs that I support.
Right. So just inquisitive to find out that how do we people kind of get to know about the auctions that you hold for the paintings?
Yeah. So first of all, you have to follow the NGOs' Facebook and Instagram pages.
Okay.
Wildlife SOS rolls out its annual auction every year in April, which is going to come up. And for that, I sell a lot of paintings there. I do this. I have created a series of painting for them called Pachin, which means in Sanskrit footprint. So I'd go to the rescue center where they have about 25 to 30 rescued elephants, all from very abused backgrounds. And I work with the elephants to create these paintings and take their footprints on canvas.
Oh, really?
And these footprints are, I think I have one behind me below the tiger. That's a Pachin painting. Okay. So these footprints go 100% to the NGO. They raise funds. So they are sold for about US 500 upwards. And so that goes completely to the NGO. For Acres, I do a large piece of art annually for their gala. The gala didn't happen last year, but hopefully we will continue the auctions. I also create different artifacts. I paint lamps, I paint wooden stuff. Whatever I can get my hands on, I paint and I create something animal themed for the auction. Excellent. Over the years, I've created a lot.
So does that go under Acres' name or is it under your name? I mean, people like me who do not know much about this, how do we find out?
Sometimes I do create paintings which I sell directly. Okay. Which also goes to the NGO. Sometimes there could be a percentage donated, like 50%, or sometimes it could be 80% goes to the NGO, depending on the piece. So depending on whether I'm required to fundraise for a particular project that they have in mind. So if the fundraising is very urgent and the funds needed are very urgent, then I'll probably offer a piece for 100% to Acres or Wildlife SOS. So it also sometimes they rescue an animal for which they really need urgent funds, then I'll give it away 100%. But normally I give away a percentage of every painting, like 20-25%.
Sure. Wonderful.
I mean, I let the buyer know how much of the percentage of that painting will go to the NGO.
Right, lovely. So what prompted you to work for the rescue of abused bears and elephants? And do you plan on attempting to rescue other animals? Uh, to my audience, she has a list and I would like her to talk about it.
So the bears are already rescued by Wildlife SOS about 15 years ago. India has a history of dancing bears. You know, the Kalandar would walk around with this sloth bear, the rope tied, and this. It was a very story life. And also, I have seen them growing up, but it was such a common scene that even I didn't think twice about it. And on one of my trips to India in 2011 or 11 is when I learned about this whole trade. And what blew me away was every single dancing bear has been rescued from the streets of India. 600 to 700 bears, each one of them. India no longer has dancing bears. And each one of them put in a sanctuary, given the medical care they needed. And because they could not be released, these bears, their canines had been broken. They had been caught as cubs, the mother killed and the cubs taken away, and they lived their life on the end of that rope. So these bears can never live in the wild again. So they need special care, special diets. So I visited the rescue center. I also saw that the families behind the bears were not left behind. These were illiterate, backward community, nomadic community, the Kalandars, who knew nothing else. For 400 years, this community had just done this. So the Wildlife SOS rescued the bears, took them away, but gave an alternative livelihood to the Kalandars. You know, till today, Kalandar children are supported by Wildlife SOS for their education. About 1,400 children go to school funded by Wildlife SOS, and they are now moving on to different careers. They are training centers for the women to learn stitching, embroidery, and different crafts, tie and dye. And actually, we bring all that merchandise for selling into Singapore as well. So, so all this is what was like. I couldn't fathom that somebody in India had done a work which a whole ministry would have done normally. I mean, it was unimaginable. And then when I visited the center, they had by then started rescuing elephants, you know, abused elephants. Rescuing one elephant and feeding it every day, you know, it needs 300 kgs of fodder per day. That's how much an elephant needs. And not to talk about the veterinary care and, you know, the expense of a mahout, which has to stay with a captive elephant. So it was what should I say? To me, it was an impossible dream. Okay. But because I cannot achieve such dreams, what I can next best do is support people who want to achieve these dreams. So in that sense, I think I decided that, okay, I'm going to support your dream. That's the best I can do.
Lovely. So do you have any advice or tips on how to safely rescue animals? And could you tell us about an instance where you rescued an animal, an exciting moment?
Interesting, because Singapore actually is a very amazing city. Singapore has this rainforest. In 20 minutes, you can reach the rainforest. And you can actually see a lot of wildlife. These days, especially since the past 1 year, I think people have been venturing a lot into Singapore's forests. And you can see pictures on the Nature Society of the beautiful captures of wildlife. Very often we encounter, so we are going to encounter more and more because it's a green city. And you have to basically learn how to coexist. You may be scared of a snake, but you must understand that the snake has every right to be there because it was his home before humanity came onto this island and created it into this big trading city. So originally there were even tigers on Singapore, right? So how do we coexist? Because first thing to understand is that most creatures do not wish to harm man. They do not wish to even encounter humanity. They do not wish to be near humanity because wild animals are very shy. So when you spot a wild animal, you have to move away, stay away from the animal and give it enough space. If there's an escape route, you let the animal leave your spot because you can see there's an escape route. If there is no escape route, there are hotlines you can call. Acres has a 24/7 hotline. NParks also has a hotline you can call. And they will respond and they will come and remove the snake. Acres Rescue, yes, I've had amazing experiences with Acres Rescues. I've seen species of animals which I had never ever seen before. The first time I saw a colugo, I had never seen a colugo. I didn't know what it was. And I just looked at this creature on the floor screaming away and I was wondering, what is this? And then I realized, I read about we carried that colugo, we put it on a tree, he climbed up. Another thing, I overcame my fear of snakes. I was able to handle snakes after watching them and learning from the experts. I was very, very scared of snakes. And on my rescues, I would just pray and say, today, no snakes. But, I got them all. But I learned by just watching.
Yeah.
One rescue, which is interesting, is about a bat. This bat we got a call from a caller said the bat is lying there. And when we went, we saw it was near a lift lobby. And the bat was very listless, completely, I thought it's not going to survive. And then the caller met us there and he said that, it's been lying here the whole day. And only in the evening when I realized it's not flown off is when I called you. So I realized that it was a very hot day and this poor bat must have been in the sun. Right. So we picked it up, and the first thing we did, we took it to our van where we have everything. So we put water in a little syringe, and we let the bat drink water. And you won't believe it, the bat drank and drank and drank. Oh. And then we put it in a box, thinking that it's better that this bat gets a health checkup by our vet. Right. 10 minutes, driving into the van, I've heard some scratchy sounds from the box behind. And I told my colleague, it looks like our bat is getting active. So since we like to release bats in the same area where they've been found, because that's where their families would be. So we actually did a U-turn and came back, and we found a park and we carried this bat. By now he was active. He was just raring to go. We released him on a tree. He just sat there, it was dark by then because this is a night rescue had started. So he just sat there, and then he decided to come down from the tree. And I was like, oh, he's not well, let's take him. My colleague said, no, hang on. He had a little torch and he said, wait. This bat came down and he crawled in the grass at full speed. And we were just running and following him. Okay. He crawled, he skipped 1 or 2 trees on the way, and he picked an old tree which was kind of sloping. I mean, I'm amazed at his intelligence, right? I mean, he can sense which tree he wants to go up on. So the thing with bats is that they can't take off from the floor. They have to crawl up a tree, and then they can glide from tree to tree. So a bat, wherever you find a bat, I mean, this is a message I'd like to give people from this, is that you can use a towel to carry the bat to a tree and release it on the tree. Yeah, and better to release it at night because they are nocturnal. During the day, they are very inactive and they can't see much, and they will just rest. So if you can just rest on a, they like to dangle. So what we do is we stick a stick between a shoebox, make 2 holes, and we just put our bat, and they love to dangle upside down and go to sleep. So in a shoebox, it will rest all day. And then at night, you can just carry the shoebox to a tree, and you can use a towel. If you're scared to handle, use gloves, use a towel, and hold the bat, let it go on a tree trunk, and you will watch it go up. And then it's fine after that. So, so this particular bat picked a tree, and it just went off, and it was a beautiful rescue. It left me feeling very nice, and
must have been very exciting, I'm sure. Right, beautiful. So Alpana, you have illustrated 18 children's book, and I believe some more also recently, right? So do you choose to illustrate more so for books on animals, or there are other types of illustrations too that you do?
Yeah, so when I first got the books, that was, I think, in 2003 was my first book with Sun Bear Publishing. I went on to do 16 books with them. It's the Sasha series of book. It's a travelogue about this little girl who goes different places. That was a beautiful series, and it got a lot of publicity and all that. After that, I did 2 more with another writer, and I was asked to create the characters also. So that was fun. And then after that, I started creating books for the NGOs I support. So the first one I created was for Wildlife SOS. It's called Facts. It's about, it's right here. I make all my
Can you show that again?
Yeah, it's Facts. That's my painting on the cover. Okay, at the back is this elephant footprint painting called the Pachin painting with the logo of Wildlife SOS. So I worked with them. I wanted the stories of their rescued elephants, because back then, I think 2013, their website did not have any of the rescue stories. They had about 7 elephants. And I wanted the stories. So I had to chase them to get the stories out. With my diary, I would, get them, grab 5 minutes with the co-founders. They're always so busy, swamped with calls. So I quickly wrote down all these stories. And by then I was painting elephants. You see, I was just painting. I was so inspired by elephants that had elephants. There's one behind me there. Elephants
Yes.
pouring out of my head in all colors and all kinds of elephants.
Okay.
So I thought that I have, my diary is full of sketches, you know, charcoal sketches, pencil sketches, pen and ink sketches. So I just wanted to create a notebook with all these stories of the elephants. So I set about doing that. And my daughter is very good with graphics. So my daughter Tulika is a curator, and she kind of started her work. I saw her talents when she helped me. So she kind of put this whole diary together with the vision that I have had in my mind. Yeah. And we created Elifax. We've just printed the 3rd edition. It's been selling. Wow. But of course, it only sells from the NGO or from me. There is no other, we haven't approached any bookstore or anything. I have no time to chase anybody to market and then find out, because I feel that at least the profits 100% are going to the NGO if they sell it. So that's the whole idea. So after that, one more. I just created Bear With Me, which is a very interesting book as well for children. That is about India's bears. And then I created one for Acres, which is about native wildlife. So yeah, those are the 3 books I did. And then one more in lockdown, which is called What If There Was No More Forest. So that's the last one I did just a few months back.
Oh, is that right? Wow, wow, wow. So just one thing, if anybody is interested in getting these books, or how do they get in touch with you, Alpana?
Yeah, on my website, my email is there, so they can write to me. Sure. I know it's not, it's a very old-fashioned way of selling. I'm not on, what should I say? I don't do online sales as such, but people can just message me and we can figure out a mutual way of sending the stuff to them. All right. I am still very old-fashioned in my way of working. I'm not very technology savvy. I always need help from volunteers to help me put all these things together and to improve my processes. But if somebody wants merchandise, they can just message me or
so to my audience, I'll be adding on in the description her website link. So if you would like to order for the books and all, you can get in touch with her through her email ID. Alpana, I always ask my guests, this question, because you all, like you, have achieved success and you have inspired many people around you, is how I see you. What do you consider as success, and would you agree that you inspire many people around you to take care of animals, be it pets or in the wild?
I believe, yes, that I have inspired people to make a change, to make a difference. I do believe also that my posts are followed by a lot more people than those who make their presence felt. What I realize is that they all don't ever press a like, but they read my posts. So which I think is beautiful, because when they tell me that they enjoyed a certain post and what it taught them, there was one I did on homemade food for my dog. My dog Mask was rescued from SPCA. And I think he inspired many people to go and adopt a dog. He was a husky. He passed away last year at the ripe old age of 14. I still miss, not having him around. But what I decided early on is that he's not going to get this dried kibble food, boring kibble food. So I would actually cook, vegetables and rice, and I would change the meal for him every morning. He would get a home cooked food with a little turmeric, because turmeric is very good for dogs. So I would make this little biryani for him with a piece of chicken in it and different kinds of vegetable combinations. He loved pumpkin. He loved green peas. Over the years, I figured out. And I felt that, I feel very sorry when I see dogs being given that same boring food, because like us, what is their interest in life? It's food, right? So why not give your pet a variety in their diet and things they love and they enjoy to eat? So when I did that post on this bowl full of goodness, a lot of people reached out and said that they shared my post amongst their family and friends, because people have this misconception that store-bought diets are the best.
Right.
But no, if home cooked food is good for us, it's good for our pets too.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Alpana, for sharing your interesting and inspirational journey with us. Only if we understand can we care, and only if we care will we help, isn't it? And only if we help shall they be saved. So let's join Alpana's efforts in taking care of animals wherever you are. The description, like I mentioned, has links to the articles that have been written on Alpana's work, and her website as well, and her rescue mission videos are attached just after I finish. We finish with this interview. The videos are where she has rescued a python and a baby squirrel and a bat, and I'm sure they will interest you just as much as they interested me. Thank you so very much, Alpana. It was a complete pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Hemali. Likewise, enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you, and best wishes always.
Thank you.
I'm still holding the Why you still? His body is trying to fall apart. Let me take him into the corner and hold the back of the